Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning, good morning. So this morning we have Nerissa Malloy. So Nerissa is a nurse entrepreneur who has, we're gonna just kind of dive in and tell her story. So Nerissa, tell us before we start that. So what I would like for everyone to do is I would like for everyone to like, share, and comment. Tell us what you think. Give us some comments about the podcast because we want to make sure that we get this out to as many people as we can. So Nerissa, tell me a little bit about who you are. If you had to describe yourself, who would you say you are?
So first, let me just give it back to you real quick. And thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for honoring your assignment and all that you do for nurses everywhere. So thank you first and foremost. But who is Nerissa? Nerissa is resilient. She's a powerhouse. She's a risk taker. She's bold. She's very transparent. You get what you get. But yeah, that's me. That's Nerissa. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter, of course, a grandma. I'm a friend. I'm a auntie. I'm all those things. But what makes me is that I'm unshakable. Nerissa is unshakable. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit.
I love it. So now tell me a little bit about, we always go back and ask why you even became a nurse. Like, did you want to become a nurse?
So that's the funny story. I wanted to become a doctor, an OBGYN. I always knew I wanted to deliver babies. But I was a teen mom at 17. And then when I went to school, I realized, listen, I can't do medical school, not work for how many years and raise a child at 18 to 19. Like, it was like, I need to do something else. So I went to school, started doing all the biology courses to be a PA. And then I hit chemistry and I could not pass chemistry at all. I took chemistry twice. I was like, wait, listen, pause. I need to rethink this. And so I started doing more research, speaking to people. And then I'm like, you know what? A lot of my cousins are nurses. Let me look into nursing. Nursing has so many. I could still run a practice. I could still deliver babies. So let me go into nursing. And when I took chemistry for health professionals, I aced that class. I was like, all right, this is a sign. So that's how I ended up in nursing and still double back later on into labor and delivery.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you did labor and deliver for your career. That was your main thing.
Yeah, at the ending. Yeah, I did.
Okay. Now that's interesting. So how many of us had a hard time with chemistry? Listen, now the first chemistry I was good with. That second chemistry, when it came to the nomenclature, I was like, what is this? Why are we even, I'm not.
Don't come to me with no table of elements.
Yes, whole thing right there. So yes, I think we all have that story where we navigated around. Like, I mean, A is statistics, so it's not a learning thing. It is chemistry. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about once you became a nurse, what are some of the things that you saw within nursing that you either liked or didn't like?
Oh, so one thing I'm gonna tell you I didn't like in nursing was picking up overtime. Because of the taxes. I was like, wait a minute, that tax shock was amazing. Like, you want to help your staff, you want to work where but when you sign up and take on extra shifts, and by the time you get your check, the taxes was like almost a shift. It was crazy. So I said, listen, I have to do something differently here. And of course, agency, but a lot of that is where my entrepreneurial journey started. My parents were entrepreneurs, grandparents were entrepreneurs, but I knew the math wasn't mathing. So I was like, there has to be another way to bring in additional income without slaving and getting heavily taxed. So that's one thing I didn't like about just the opportunity with nursing. And the other thing, truthfully, is, and that's probably a whole nother topic, but you know how some of the seasoned nurses treated the younger nurses coming in, because I was a young nurse. I came from the ER to labor and delivery, so I had experience, but just didn't know L&D. And my preceptor, like at one time, I had to pull her up, and she was an older woman, so I try to have respect. But I had to pull her up one time for trying to raise her voice at me, like, listen, I know what I know. Don't come at me like I need you to show me how to do this. But I do have some type of background. I'm willing to learn, but don't pull me up. I'm on orientation. It wasn't even that serious. It's about filling out a form. Like, come on, the birth papers. I get it, but at this point, give me some grace.
Right, right. And you know, and that's one of the things that we talked about on a previous podcast about nurse bullying and, you know, the whole not wanting you to succeed with the attitudes that they have. We're going to talk about those taxes because those taxes
Mhm.
are super, super important, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. So the
Yeah.
reality is that when, you know, you go into nursing, you have to be very careful about that. And what
Mhm.
I think the one thing that people don't understand and they don't realize, and maybe they do, is that whenever you are a nurse bully, then you are harming the patient. Nobody's getting harmed but the patient. And so you have to be very clear on that. And one of the things that I used to do was I was like, listen, right? You know, we just, if you don't give me the information, I'm going to find the information from someone. So you can take a pick as to whether you want to give it to me or not.
Right.
But when it comes to those taxes, now that's a whole different ballgame. Because, and I say this all the time, because you get taxed 50% pretty much as you are in a W-2, you know, job, right? But as a nurse entrepreneur, like you get 100% of your money, right?
Hmm.
And what you do is you mitigate your taxable risk at the end of the year or, you know, during the year,
Right.
right? So understanding that is huge. And one of the books that really, really changed my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Hmm.
It changed the trajectory. I was like, I've been doing this all wrong,
Wrong. Hmm.
right? And so how long were you in nursing before you decided to become an entrepreneur?
I think, to be honest, I was an entrepreneur before I got into nursing. Like back then, I did like Tupperware and Warm Spirit. I think I did all those network marketing things, and I definitely call it entrepreneurship. I know people have their different terms. They say it is, they say it isn't. But if you are selling products, hosting events, and you have goals and you're building teams, you're definitely an entrepreneur, pouring into others and developing a business model. So yeah, I did a lot of that before I got into nursing, and then in the first 3 years, I got into another network marketing company, and I stayed there for quite some time.
Now, what made you make the transition from the network marketing to
Mhm. To
entrepreneur?
coaching. So to be honest, I never really made a transition. I kind of did it all because I realized in the entrepreneurial journey and network marketing, there were a lot of women that I met that wanted to join the business. They wanted to do something different. They felt that tugging, but they didn't believe in themselves enough or believe that they could actually achieve the success. So that fear held them back from from even getting started. And so I did a lot of coaching around that. And then for those that got started, I would definitely was coaching and mentoring them in that space and how to, achieve goals, how to hit your sales goals. So it dawned on me, I'm like, you know what, there's a lot of women that need coaching just to create the success they desire, regardless if it's in entrepreneurship, in this business, or outside. And that's what triggered me to start my coaching business to help more women to define and design their success.
So tell me, what do you think is the primary reason why you see women who don't feel like they are enough?
Because of background, histories, experiences, life traumas. Like for me, I was voted least likely to succeed in middle school. Can you imagine middle school? That seed was planted and took root. So just imagine, I didn't realize that until my walk with God. When I relocated to Maryland, got saved, and I did a Bible class, uh, um, a discipleship class, 9-month class, dug deep. Did I ever uncover that root? But back then, all the years prior, I never knew that seed had planted and took root. It was preventing me from playing full out. Or in other words, I had like a proven spirit. I had to prove to everybody, that yes, I'm successful. So I did all the things. I ran down that path of what do you call it, the Joneses, just to show and prove that I was successful. But it still left a whole void, so much unfulfillment. And so that is an example of how things like that can take root and show up in different areas. So when people want to start a business, or they like entrepreneurs, nurses, they feel like, what, they're burnt out at the bedside, or they're not getting paid their worth, or not valued for their expertise, but they stay there is because there's something taking root, preventing them from taking that leap, trusting and believing in themselves, and the higher power that be, God, that whole element, understanding and seeing themselves like how He sees us. That is a big thing, and that's what a lot of women need coaching around in that space. Moving past, and therapy. I'm not a therapist. You got to see a therapist, but there's some things that you can do to help with that mindset and that belief and shift how you think about yourself.
That's interesting because, yesterday I was having a conversation with a young lady who had gotten terminated from her job. And so she filed for a wrongful termination and went back to the job. And so now, like, it's a whole thing where they're treating her it's almost like a hostile environment, right? And one of the things that I told her, I said, she was like, I have to go back and I have to clear my name. And I was like, clearing your name is not even worth it. I said, the reality is that if they want to make your life hell, they're going to make your life hell. And you have to be very clear on, what you want in life. Going back to a hostile environment is just not where it is. And I don't, clearing my name, the people who care about me, who know me, right, they know exactly who I am. And I said, that's the same case for you. And the other people, like, other people's opinion of you is none of your business. Like,
Absolutely.
not at all. So,
Absolutely.
not proving to anyone what, who you are, it's just crazy. So anyway, so now tell me a little bit about being unshakable. Tell me about that.
So being unshakable, it took root even from back then, and I didn't realize it, because yes, you said I'm least likely to succeed, but I'm going to show you. So in that instance, I realized too that, you know what, I'm not going to let you deter me from my path or what I want to do. So all right, I'm going to do what I got to do. So of course, went to high school. Uh, I was in a top class, did all the great things, right? But even then, became a teen mom. So then it defeat again. So
Mhm.
all right, that spirit came over again. All right, now I have to show and prove again. So then, all right, I'm going back to school. I'm gonna become a doctor. That was one of the reasons I said I'm gonna become a doctor for sure. I'm gonna show everybody. So then I couldn't pass chemistry. Defeat again. All right, now I gotta show people. I'm gonna become a nurse. So I did all of that. So being unshakable is really understanding and knowing that when you feel defeated or when you face an obstacle, that that whatever you're determined for, you're going for it, and you can go for it, and not being knocked down and staying down. And
Mm.
even though you see the trees in the storms, you ever see the hurricane, you see those trees will bend and lean over. But that sucker will hardly ever you see a tree break and snap. You see them, but not often. And those trees will go left and right. That's what being unshakable means. Like, you can come, you can give me the storms, you can give me all of that, but I'm still going to rise above and stand firm and stand tall, feet firmly planted and grounded in what I believe as far as my assignment and what I'm destined to do and become.
I love, love, love that. analogy because it makes a difference, right?
It
Getting
does.
back up every single solitary time. And I tell my friends all the time because, sometimes my friends will come to me, because most of my friends obviously are entrepreneurs at this point. And sometimes, it'll be a sad sob story, and I said, well, we're gonna live in that for about, I'll give you 48 hours maybe to live in that. But then after that, we have to get up and we have to do something different. Because the reality is that when you are in that space, you have to understand that this is a complete faith walk. It is
Absolutely.
faith walk. And every single solitary step, because it's 2 millimeter shifts that literally change your life,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So many things that could, and if you don't have the faith that you're going to do it, simply because most people that you are around are not entrepreneurs.
Correct. So
And
you have
because
to have the faith and the belief. That is everything. The belief in yourself and your ability, and not having to know it all. You don't need to know the how. Let God work out the how. You just know the what. And that's where the faith comes in. And it's hard. It's really hard, especially as you're growing through the business, the personal journey, and then life happens. That's the other thing. When I hear, like you said, people come with a story, like even I tell them, listen, Jesus rose on the third day. I'm going to give you 3 days. And then we got to keep moving.
I give them two.
But life happens and life will always life. And it's really, how do you address those challenges? It's a test. God wants to see how faithful are you in this season, in this journey. How are you going to triumph? What is your attitude like? How are you persevering? How are you showing up in the midst of challenges? And I think that's the biggest character builder when it comes to entrepreneurship and life in general. But entrepreneurship would definitely expose you.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, you're right. When you go through things,
Mhm.
it's not what you go through, it's how you go through it.
Absolutely. It's
Because some people go through it and they're pitching a fit and they're
fine.
copping a tit right in that space, and I'm like, this is not where I'm gonna lie, right?
Right.
We've got bigger
Absolutely.
things. We're changing the face of healthcare, we're changing the way that the trajectory of people's lives, and because of that, we can't pitch a tent here. It's okay. It's going to work out. Yesterday morning I about had a meltdown because of the DNS. I don't
The
know.
server, the Google Yahoo thing.
Uh,
I'm about to start that today. I'm behind.
I was about to have a meltdown, honestly, and I was like, because my VA, I couldn't find where I bought the domain from.
Oh,
Because I had bought it from a few other, and she was like, we're not going to be able to send emails. We're not going to be able to, the website is going to go down. But if we don't find where this domain came from. And so another company had bought the domain services.
oh
And
Lord.
so I'm going to that company and they said, well, it's still with your company until the end of February. And I was like, so what do I do now? So I'm trying to figure out where it was anyway. And at the end of the day, I found out where it was. But I say that to say this. When you are in entrepreneurship, there's going to be some days when it's going to be that fear that's going to rise up. Because my fear was that somebody else had bought my domain, because in the earlier days, like I had no idea. Like I had
Mm,
no idea what I was doing, right? And I
right.
didn't think the domains were really important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to tell you they are.
They are.
And so it was like it was game changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the deal is that you just have to keep moving forward, because
Yeah,
at
you
the end
have
of the
to
day
keep
it's
moving
gonna work
forward.
out. So now tell me a little bit about your services. Like, what do you do for as an entrepreneur?
So as an entrepreneur, what I do, like I said, I'm a registered nurse by trade. So I'm a business coach, and I started the Unshakable CEO community. And that community is for aspiring entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs that are looking for community, real community, where we come together once a month and we talk about biblical principles, how to apply it into our businesses. We go around and share how can we support one another. We read We focus on a lot of different things, but again, it's moving you forward in business, and it's all about strategic partnerships and prayer. So yes, you get the business principles, but you get the biblical principles, how to merge the two in a community that's supportive. And we talk about ways that we can collaborate and grow our businesses. So that's the Unshakable CEO community, where I coach women as well. I also provide services for women that are ready to take their expertise. You know you're an expert, you know your value, you know that you have something that you can bring to the marketplace that can impact the communities, and you just don't know how to do that. So then I help some women with that startup phase to start their coaching and consultancy businesses. But I'm also the lead consultant and founder of J&M Healthcare Solutions, and that's where I work with established businesses to streamline their operations. So to create structure in how they run their day to day with their team, with themselves, and create any systems and processes so they can operate in excellence and deliver the service and impact that they truly desired, and not burn out at the bedside like you did at the bedside. You don't want to bring those principles into entrepreneurship. So how to show up as the unshakable leader. So that's what I do in the consulting space as well.
And that's very important. And that's one of the things that we teach in our community as well. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that your systems is highly important.
Highly.
Like you can't, if you don't have good systems. I remember just running around like a chicken with my head cut off, right? Because I didn't have systems. I didn't have systems.
Mhm.
I didn't have a team. Like I had
Mhm.
none of that, right? And being very intentional about your team building as well,
Yeah.
having leadership. One of the things that I learned, and I was talking about this the other day, is actually I was on another podcast when we were talking about this. Um, had a team member who was just like, we were in a meeting, she was not paying attention, and it was just not normally like her, right? And so, the old me would have been like, listen, what what are you doing? What are you doing
Right.
over there, right? You need to pay attention in these meetings. But one of the things that I did, and I was very intentional about, is I said, how would that come across if that were, someone saying that same thing to me? And so I just put myself in her position. And so once I put myself in her position, I just asked, is there anything going on? Because I
Mhm.
noticed that you were not paying attention the other day when we were talking. And she came back and she was very thankful that I'd asked. And she did have some serious things that were going on at the time. And she thanked me for asking. And ever since then, she has been highly engaged. So
Mhm.
it's important that you have your leadership skills together as well, because nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That is highly,
Absolutely.
and I don't care whether it comes to your business or whether it comes to, your team that you lead. It is highly, highly important.
It's highly important because that's one thing we don't think about when we step into entrepreneurship. We just think, oh, we're just going to start a business and run it. But leadership, when you're building a team and you have clients to support, you have to show up as a leader. You have to set the tone, set the example, your mission, your values. All of that is so important in how you show up. And leadership, people don't think about. So yes, I'm glad you asked the question, because you can't just go ahead and assume everybody's going through stuff. And a true leader, like you said, wants to know. So you ask the question, I noticed this. What's going on? Is everything okay? Made a huge difference versus if you'd have said, you weren't paying attention and I don't appreciate that. I need you to show up and do better. What
Right.
would have happened to her then? She'd have probably been giving you, I can't do this anymore. Life is lifing.
Right. Exactly. 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 And now she's showing up like a boss, right?
Exactly.
So I want to talk about a little bit about, and I asked it your permission about
Mhm.
this earlier. When your father passed away last year, correct?
2022, December. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now tell me a little bit about that, because I think that sometimes
Hmm.
people say, well, because this happened,
Hmm.
can't move forward.
Yeah.
But you didn't say that. So tell me what was happening during that time that helped you to move forward.
So let me set the premise a little bit. That was my first year of being full time. So I walked away from a director role leading 4 departments, managers, 100 and something employees. And I walked away, and we were at the pinnacle of like being the top performing unit, like a utter transformation. And God was pulling me to walk away. And I thought it was to build my business. And yes, it was, but not knowing a month and a half later, I would become a full-time caretaker for my dad. Like, move him in, restructure the whole first floor, like that room, to just make that his oasis like. And so adjusting to that, the family, the business full time, making sure you hit your money, your goals, because you still got bills to pay, mortgage, all those bills are still coming, even though you don't have that regular check. And then dealing with the family, the adjustment with the spouse. My husband was very supportive. But I say all of that to say life was lifing. So even through that transition and spending time with my dad, it was an amazing experience. Just looking back. However, when he passed, again, at that point in time, if I didn't have the systems in place, and when we say systems, it's not always like software, but workflows that people can follow and still do these things and processes, so that regardless if I'm sitting on the couch, just laying, I was laying on the couch and I was just like in my saddest moment and see an email, it was a $5,000 payment. Like, it's things like that that I just got up and started crying, because I'm like, thank the Lord that I had these things in place, that even now when I'm grieving, I don't have to worry about anything. There's a process. They're going to get their onboarding, and I'm going to reach out in due time. So having the support, number one, the mindset that year of an entrepreneur, because again, a coach, a team, I had people around me, I had sisters that I called when I was ready to jump off the ledge. Like, a lot of that is what got me through that, plus my therapist, of course. But a lot of that is what got me through, where I didn't feel like just hanging it all up, because I had different coping mechanisms, different places to turn. And one thing that I did that I tell anybody is that I cried whenever I felt it. I'm in the nail salon or the grocery store, you name it. A song came on. I'm just like, they're like, you okay? I'm like, I'll be all right. I did not. I tried so hard not to just hold it in, because I knew that that would have been worse. So I didn't care what people, I'm walking down the street crying, and it's okay. I didn't care. I'm at the dinner table. They're like, oh, mom, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just having a moment. I mean, it happened to me the other day. So yeah, I think having the right support, the coping mechanisms in place, and also systems and processes in your business that will give you the time to grieve. Because I was grateful that I didn't have to search for another leader to cover my units and my department so that I could have time off.
Yes, that is very, very important. It's very important for you to be able to sell your company too. Because a lot of
Right.
people are there like, well, because I was delusional when I first went into business. I thought, well, my children are going to want the business. My children are extremely artistic. Okay,
Mine too. Mine is.
I am very analytical. Okay, we are
They're
two
different.
different spectrums. And
Hmm.
they're like, it's even in my will that I'm going to give my son the business. He was like, I don't want it.
Yeah, I want that. I want to do my own thing.
So it's important that you have your, standard operating procedures, your policies and procedures together. You have your, you have everything in order to be able to sell the business. And you
Mhm.
have cash flow in the business all the time for you to be able
Absolutely.
to do what you need to do outside of there. And I tell people all the time, when we went to Italy, that's one of the things that was highly important, right?
Hmm.
Those systems that were in place. It's like, just like you said, you got the email, right, with the $5,000. Having those systems without you having to just be in it all the time is
Absolutely.
huge, huge, so that you can grow the business, because you have to be over the business. You have to be there. And one of the things that helped me, because my mom died that same year, I think earlier
Mhm.
in the year in June. And one of the things that helped me during that time is that there was a friend that came to me, and she said to me, she said, grief comes in waves. And that's what you're talking about
Um,
right now. it's the waves, right? And
Yeah.
the waves literally changes, and had she not told me that, then I would have thought that I would, be sitting in that. But those waves come, I cry, and then I'm good.
Right.
It really changes how I viewed grief, right? That I don't have
Mhm.
to sit in it all the time, because grief will, it will take a chokehold on you. My pastor's actually going over a, a series on grief right now, because he lost his son
Mm.
probably about, I'm not sure how many years ago it was, but
Mhm.
he lost his son. He was killed in a car accident.
Mm.
And and it was, I mean, you could tell that it was, outwardly, like he struggled with that,
Mhm.
right? And so it's a lot of things that, because that's not the natural course. At least our parents, it was the natural course of the way things, should go, or
Mhm.
the way that they say, right? Uh,
Right.
but the reality is that no matter who it is, whenever you have that loss and you have that thing, it is hard.
It is hard. And that turned out to be my first five-figure month that month. So believe me, it was that month blew my mind in so many different ways, but it was a sense of peace. And again, God is testing your character to see how are you dealing with things. I gave you this assignment. Your assignment is to take care of the people, right? So when trials and tribulations come, are you going to leave the people on the wayside, or are you still going to be obedient to them and still obedient to the call and make sure you take care of yourself and treat your body like a temple so that you can come back and do what you need to do? Give yourself time, of course, grieve, but remember you still have a calling and an assignment.
That is so, so good. So
Mhm.
good. Because, it is the truth. You have that assignment. And if
Right.
you don't take care of it at this level, then you're not going to take care of it,
Any
as
level.
right. So
Hmm.
that is amazing. So thank you for coming on. So tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. Definitely look for me there. You'll learn a whole lot more about me, my products and services, and how I can support entrepreneurs and some of my stories. I'm also on Facebook. You'll find me on IG, but I'm definitely on LinkedIn. And if you want to reach out to me, info@nerissamalloy.com. I do have a special gift for those that are struggling with delegation and tasks and want to know how to do that. So send me an email and I can shoot you a free tool on how you can do that efficiently and effectively, of course. So info@nerissamalloy.com, and you can follow me on social media, LinkedIn, Nerissa Malloy.
I love it. I love it. So I ask that you like, share, and comment. Give us
Mhm.
your comments on how what you found valuable out of this podcast. We want to make sure that, of course, you can download it on Apple. The more downloads that we have, the better. Again, like, share, and comment on the podcast. And you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day.